spent precious 15 minutes outside before it turned gray and nasty and rainy again. And I'm using every ounce of my energy not to throw up right now.
So while that's all going on, I'm making us some oatmeal. Because I was planning on making oatmeal for breakfast, but it's so nice out, and I know that it wasn't going to be nice out for long, so we just went right outside. So I had some hard-boiled eggs, Maddie had some food bars. Now we're going to have the real breakfast. It's just here cooking on the stove. How is it?
I've just learned that Herby makes excellent oatmeal. This is very valuable knowledge.
That is good. So we were talking about, we'll go from like nice for like 20 minutes and then this. Now I know the camera can't capture it and all that mess. It's currently blowing about 30 and the seas are about 8 to 10 feet high. And every so often we get a nice boarding wave that just, crashes over the whole boat. So, I mean, I know it's really hard to put into perspective, especially if you've never been out in the ocean, what this is like, but this boat weighs 18 tons. So imagine a small truck bouncing around at this rate. Like, that's how the seas are. And by a small truck, I mean like those box trucks, like Office Max or Staples, those delivery truck things. One of those bouncing around. That's what we got just from the wind. Like, it's impressive. So in case you've been wondering why we have our storm sails up literally all the time, like we've had them up for about 2 weeks now, straight. Rather than raising the main, putting away the the trysail, like getting everything put back, and then getting it all set up, and then in a half hour I have to go undo everything. We just sit, we move it like 2 to 3 knots for like maybe a half hour, not that bad. And then the winds come back with vengeance, and then we're back to doing like 4 to 5 knots again. So it's more of a game of attrition out here in the ocean rather than speed. Like, you're not trying to get every last bit of power that you can out of the sails. You're just trying to make everything last long enough to get you to the other side. So every time you use your winch, use your halyards, use your gear, it wears them out. And if you're going to be changing them all the time, you're going to wear them out. So this way, I mean, if you think about it, we haven't touched anything on the boat for about 4 days. So we just set it, make sure there's no chafe, and then just leave it alone. Thankfully, that horrible weather we had today has subsided. Now we just have these nice, big, gentle swells. Emphasis on big. We're getting there. It's nice to not have rain at the moment. It's like riding over hills in a countryside. Except the hills ride under you.
In Soviet Russia, hills ride under you. The stars are out tonight, and it's the first time we've seen them on this trip. The stars were my favorite part of crossing the ocean. And I had forgotten how incredible they are. And they have reminded me why we do this. You just can't see anything like that anywhere else in the world.
Good morning, everyone. So, it's gotten rather nice out. It's not freezing. I'm just in a long sleeve shirt and quite comfortable. And we have clear blue skies, so this is really nice. So we're getting closer to the continent, and therefore we're getting more continental weather instead of ocean weather. Right now the winds are directly out of where we need to go. And they're going to be clocking around throughout the day into the night to be south. Maddie really likes my oatmeal. So I'm making oatmeal for breakfast, and we are now heading due south, which it's one of the directions we want to be going today. So We're trying to go southeast. The winds are out of the east. Schlop. So we're close hauled, but when you throw in a current in the mix, we're going south instead of southeast. It's looking nice. Right now we got nice blue skies, solar panels are charging, everything's going great. But let's look at what we're going into. So I got that guy coming in now. He's coming at us. And if that weren't enough, dead ahead there's a really big one. And we're heading for that. Yeah, we still have our storm sails up because this is nice weather right now, but it's not gonna last. And we're heading for some good winds.
Today is different because we're not moving. It's blue and beautiful and sunny, but there are no winds, and we are going backwards.
On a much more positive note, somebody wasn't seasick today.
That's me.
So much relaxing and enjoyment happening right there. Very welcome.
It's very calm out right now. We don't have much wind, but the reason we don't have more sail up is that we don't actually want to be going really quickly in the direction that we are headed, which is northeast. So yes, we're happy to be going east, but north is kind of backwards. So we're just kind of waiting for the winds to come back around and point us in a better direction.
For all you math knights, or math elite, people who like math.
Oh my.
We've
been at sea too long.
We're currently at 44 degrees and 50 minutes north, which is almost 45 degrees north. We want to get to 41 degrees north. Heading more north is very against where we're trying to go.
Just a herbicus making some breadicus.
Herbicus.
There go the blue skies. We are headed into whatever this cloud holds for us. So maybe it holds wind. Maybe. In the right direction.
Just doing my regular bilge checks, and I noticed that our forward bilge is quite full, and the pump runs, or spins, but the water level doesn't actually go down. And this is an 1100 gallon per hour pump, so I'm not sure what's wrong with it. But at the present moment, I'm just gonna do it the manual way. So when we get the land, I'll get a new pump, replace this guy, and then we'll be good. In the meantime, the old hand pump. So I'm just pumping it into the shower, and then the shower's pump works. So that'll get the water overboard. So you might be wondering where'd all this water come from? And the answer is very simple. We've had a very rough ride. Had a lot of waves come over the boat. How's the water getting into the boat in the first place? Well, not everything is perfectly sealed. I mean, this boat is 51 years old. She's got some leaks. So while we were doing the refit, I did manage to clog up a bunch of the leaks. So we have a lot fewer, but we still have leaks. So we didn't have this problem when we crossed to the Azores because we didn't have our anchor and ground tackle set up. But since we're heading to Porto and we might be anchoring before we dock, we need to have the ground tackle ready to go. So I set up a system that restrains the anchor a lot better so we don't have what happened off Hatteras happen to us again. But we now have the chain running through that hose pipe. And as a result, we got water coming in. So I've tried stuffing it with a rag from the inside. The next time we have a calm day that I can go forward to the forepeak, I'm gonna stuff a rag from the outside and try and like caulk the hole shut with cotton. But we'll see. It's I mean, we're about 2 days away, so we might not get that calm weather before we get there. And as long as you can keep the water out faster than it comes in, you stay floating and you can make it to your next place. It's amazing what a blue sky can do. So here we are, it's pretty much the same conditions we've had, except it's sunny. And that makes me happy. We're cooking along and we're doing about 5 knots. We're heading straight for the northwestern tip of Spain. So once we hit that, we hop into the Portuguese trade winds and ride them down to Porto. If you're curious how on earth I decided on this route, I looked up the ancient trade routes from Portugal to the Azores. Because they'd sail back and forth all the time, no engine with boats that couldn't go upwind. So I'm like, alright, how'd they do it? What's the downwind route? And this is it. You go from Portugal, you go straight out to the Azores, and then to get back to Portugal, you go way north past England, come down. So that's what we're doing.
Today we have hope. Blue skies and wind. And bread and cheese. We're about 2 or 3 days away from our destination. It's all coming to an end. I can't wait.
So I'm going to use our sun oven and bake our dinner. So what we're going to be making are some chicken legs, drumsticks with some sweet potatoes. And yeah, the sun oven has these great reflectors that help collect more sun, which then makes it heat up faster. The problem is they're really big and it's really windy out here. So I took off the reflectors and I just have the sun oven itself aimed in the direction of the sun. And so far it's up to about 150. So it looks like this might work. It's just slower to heat up, but it still looks like it heats up. So it's currently about 3 o'clock and that means we got like 6 hours of sunlight left. So it's pretty nice being this far north. You get a lot more sun. I want to talk to you guys about our water usage. So when we crossed the Atlantic from Florida to Bermuda to the Azores, we were about 40 some days total for that whole jaunt, and we used only 50 gallons of fresh water. For this leg, going from the Azores to Portugal, I didn't set up the saltwater system at all. We're using only fresh water for everything, showering, drinking, doing dishes, all that. It's been about 2 weeks. We've used a 20-gallon tank completely, and that was used for showering and dishes. That was that tank's designation. And then we've used a 15-gallon tank completely for drinking. And now we're currently on a 30-gallon tank. So if you think about it, we've been 2 weeks, we've used 35 gallons. That might sound like we're blowing through our water really quickly, but you figure I loaded up this time with 160. I didn't fill up our rain tank, which is 40 gallons, because it's a bladder tank. And the sloshing around isn't really good for it. So that one I left it empty. We just have the 160 the boat normally carries, and that's gonna be plenty more than enough to get to Portugal. So the best way to figure out, do I have enough water and how much water can I use, is gallons per mile till you arrive. So you figure if you have 100 gallons and you have 100 miles to go, technically every mile that you have traveled made good, you can then use 1 gallon of water. Okay? So if you have 1,000 miles to go and you carry 100 gallons, now you have to do 10 miles made good for every gallon of water you consume. And it's always better to consume the water after you've earned it rather than use the water and planning on being really strict with the water later, because that never works out well. But as it stands right now, we have well over 100 gallons of water left, and we're about 2 to 3 days away from Portugal. So it's really been quite convenient to just use fresh water, because everything is so much cleaner and easier to do.
Hey. All right, we have here a beautiful meal that Herby has made.
Yeah, so it's arroz con pollo. It's a Puerto Rican dish. You have rice and chicken. I'm so excited. So we started making it in the
rice
sun oven.
and chicken.
Yes. We started making it in the sun oven, but I started too late and the sun was pretty low on the horizon, so I couldn't get the sun oven past 150 degrees, which is not going to cook chicken. That's where you make chicken tartare and then die from salmonella. So I brought it into our fire oven, baked it. Oh, I'm so excited. So this is fancy Herby rice.
Fancy Herby rice.
Fancy Herby.
Can I have mine on the side of the rice?
Kill me.
Yes.
So that is not how it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to go on the rice. How do you like Herby's fancy rice?
I'm still only on the chicken. It's so good.
Why is this special Puerto Rican food? It's the spices. So, some spices that we've actually had for 2 years. Never used them, never opened them.
I was unaware of their existence.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't open them. But it's called adobo. And in Puerto Rico, adobo goes on everything. And if you put adobo on it, then it's Puerto Rican whatever. So, this is chicken covered in adobo.
It's finally a beautiful day and we get to go full sail. So it's really exciting and we're kind of coming down the home stretch right now. We're moving along very beautifully. The seas have finally calmed down, so they're relatively flat, which makes an enormous difference in morale, especially for me, because I'm not puking everywhere. And it's just a gorgeous day. This is the kind of sailing I love. This is why we come out here. So it's really refreshing to have a day like this, even if it is at the end. We're using the sun oven today, and it is the perfect day to use it. Herby has made some bread. It's almost at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's just, I'm so excited because this is the first time we're using it and actually having it work because we have sunlight and blue skies. So
the seas are really calm, so that means that when we aim it for the sun, it actually stays aimed at the sun.
Exactly. I came to on the ground of that dark Never Never wood. Spirit realm or not, I felt cold and started shivering uncontrollably.
It's finally nice clear blue skies, we're baking bread, and I hung out my pants and I tied the little tie thingies so that they won't blow away.
I would say that bread took about 2 hours to cook, bake. No? Hour. Wow. Okay. It was only in there for an hour. So the temperature got up to about 270, and the bread looks fabulous. We're gonna eat it with this amazing cheese that we got back in Tercera, which we're obsessed with. Such a good day. I wish so much that every day of this voyage had been like this, because this is what I think about when I think of sailing and cruising. Obviously there's the bad weather that you come through and you get through it, but bad weather being the entire passage, it's rough, but thank goodness for today. Today is amazing. So beautiful.
So landy?
It looks like land. We're all checked in. So the next order of business is to take a shower.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends.
And if you'd like to follow our journey in real time on a map, receive postcards from our ports of call, and message us directly to the boat, you can go ahead and become a patron using the link in the description down below.